Welcome to the Core Health Podcast. I'm Sarah Williams, your host. Join me as we explore the 4 pillars of core health: faith, knowledge, action, and connection to help you build health from the inside out.
Welcome back to another episode of the Core Health Podcast. Today, I am joined by Katie Davis. She graduated from BYU with a Bachelor's of Arts in Dance, and she has taught, choreographed, and performed for the past 10 years, including teaching at the University of Utah in their children's dance program. She did a little pivot and became a birth doula 2 years ago, educating and empowering women to have the most positive birth experience possible. I can't wait to hear more about that and what led you to do that. After her own health journey with diving into insulin resistance and fiber and going through some different health crises there, she became a metabolic health coach about 1.5 years ago. And now she educates men and women on insulin and gut health. And she is the adoring mother of 3 little girls and a husband. We'll give Jake an honorable mention too in here too, right?
Yes. Yes, he deserves it too.
Awesome. Katie and I have been friends since our BYU days, 15 years ago now. Maybe? It's been maybe not quite that much. 12, 13 years ago now. You have the Instagram page, The Fiber Hack.
Yes.
Tell me what that means. What is it? What is the Fiber Hack?
Yeah, so I talk all about insulin resistance and specifically how fiber can play such a role in even reversing insulin resistance. You know, kind of depending on how far down the road you are, but fiber can do wonders for your metabolism. And so I educate, really I want to spread the word about fiber and insulin resistance, cause that's something I hadn't heard of before. And unfortunately I had to hear about it because I was having health problems. But so I just want to spread awareness of, insulin health. And that is relevant for everyone, not just type 1 diabetics or, type 2 if you get there. I had kind of this vague idea about fiber, but I didn't realize the impact that it has on our health and the deficit that we have. How much we consume fiber is just way too low. And exactly what fiber is, variety and what foods have it and different kinds and all that. So I just really want to educate people, honestly, because it was something that I didn't know enough about, and it completely changed my health when I focused on it.
I can tell it has become a huge passion point for you, and that it has been very impactful in your health. A couple of questions. What did you have to go through of experiencing issues? I'm guessing, because I'm in the healthcare industry, I'm a clinician, I understand that patients will go from treatment protocol to treatment protocol and physician to physician and from idea to idea to idea until they finally find something that works. So what were you experiencing and what did you have to jump through to finally land in this place that made sense for you? And what did it fix for you?
Oh my gosh, yes. That is exactly what happened. Which is just so frustrating in and of itself that you have to go on that. Like you said, all these different doctors, different ideas, different everything. So I was having these red flags that I didn't know were red flags, honestly, at the beginning, obviously, of my health journey. So I had 2 girls, I already had 2 older girls, and I wanted my 3rd baby. My journey kind of started with a miscarriage, unfortunately, but I was 11 weeks along. So it was kind of further along, and so that was obviously heartbreaking. But then what was crazy is that after that, I developed psoriasis, and it was in my armpits of all places. Gross, I know, but I was
it happens. That's a real thing.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, this is weird. Because I've never had really skin issues. especially psoriasis, even eczema, nothing. And so I knew it was my body trying to tell me something, but I didn't know exactly what it was. So that's where, I started visiting all the different doctors, right? So like I went to MD, we tried, the traditional steroid. That was just a Band-Aid. It came right back, And then I went and saw a naturopath and we tried all these different weird supplements. And then I was doing my own research as well. And so I was like, okay, skin issues, gut health. And so I started researching like, okay, how can I help my gut? And so I started eating sauerkraut every day. And like I already took a probiotic, but I was like, maybe I need a better one. And anyway, so I did also like bone broth cleanses and I changed all my products. I changed my fabrics, like, all the things. I was like, is it topical? Is it my gut? Is it anyway? I was exploring everything. I went and saw other doctors in the middle of all this. I had yet another miscarriage. And this one it was like a year later. But it was 14 weeks along. So like second trimester, like, anyway, so I was starting to believe and honestly things that doctors told me too, that maybe I couldn't carry a baby anymore. Like I was getting pregnant, but my body wasn't keeping the baby, So I wondered, do I have an autoimmune disorder? My body's, just like attacking the baby. I don't know. Anyway, so I went and saw specialists. I went and saw fertility specialists. I was a candidate for, all that treatment.
Like IVF?
Yes. I mean, we were going to try some other medications before that, but yeah, IVF, IUI, like that was definitely like something they were talking to me about. But I had my hesitations there too, because I was like, well, I'm getting pregnant spontaneously, but I'm miscarrying, So I was like, so IVF, I don't know if that really would benefit me. But anyway, still had psoriasis, like still fighting it, trying to figure that out. Tested my water, like I said, I cut out gluten. Like anyway, I was trying absolutely anything that I could think of. And I went and saw another doctor who was kind of this, he was like an MD, but also naturopath kind of specialist. We did like ozone blood cleansing treatment, which is pricey, Anyway, I was trying all the things. Probably spent around $5,000, maybe more,
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
and that's just the tip of the iceberg. If you go into deep fertility treatments, it's
100%.
Man,
yeah.
You're buying a new car every 2 to 3 months.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Like,
yeah, I know.
Nuts.
It's no joke. And so I was obviously, willing to do whatever I had to because I wanted my third baby. Yeah, I mean, who doesn't, Infertility is so hard, so heartbreaking. And so anyway, so I was still just very hopeless and did these treatments and they helped the psoriasis, but honestly, it never kicked it fully. Like it was still there. It kind of started to fluctuate with my menstrual cycle, but it never fully went away.
The ozone helped?
The ozone helped, but it didn't get it to gone all the way.
Okay.
Yeah, and these other things that I listed, like they were starting to help a little, but it never, fully went away. Yeah. So anyway, so here I am, it was close to 3 years, still had the psoriasis, didn't have a baby. I had 2 more miscarriages, so I had 4 total. And anyway, just felt very lost, very hopeless, sad, like, beyond sad. Heartbreak. It's just heartbreaking. But so that's where, I continued to do research and calling, my brother is a doctor. I was just like, I was trying to talk to everybody that I could think of. And it actually was a divine intervention, but a good friend of mine, she sent me this podcast and it was just talking about fiber, which like, okay, it's so funny, but she was just like, I don't know, maybe you should listen to this. She knew that I was trying absolutely anything and willing to try anything.
Do you remember what podcast it was?
Yes, it was Jody Moore. If you know Jody Moore, Better Than Happy. She's a life coach. And she had a guest on there, a health coach. Who is my health coach now? Brittany Zedek. And she was talking all about insulin resistance and fiber. And I was like, okay, these are things I have not heard from any of these doctors. Even with the testing and all that, like no one talked about my blood sugar at all, insulin levels at all, fiber, actually even my gut. I was the one that had to like put those pieces together. You know, I had to do the research and find that out, that was connected to my psoriasis. I listened to this podcast and I was like, okay, wow, yes. And so she gave, you know, like great information about just, you know, fiber in whole foods. And so obviously I was focusing on that, but she also actually did have a supplement that she takes. And I was like, okay, let's try that. And it's actually a nutraceutical, I should say. So it's clinical grade, you know, and all the, you know, it's been tested and it's high quality. It's not something you can just buy in the store. Like it has multiple forms of variety of fiber, insoluble and soluble. Like, okay, I'll try that. I'll start with that. So I ordered the fiber. I started taking it consistently and not even kidding, like a few weeks later, couple weeks later, my psoriasis goes away completely. Like completely. Gone. No sign of it at all. And I kept holding my breath like, okay, it's going to come back. Like it's just with my menstrual cycle, you know? No, it never came back. Never came back. And after that, like it was just a few months later. Well, and like I won't get into too much detail, but my menstrual cycle changed, let's just say. I could tell that my body was changing, you know?
You could feel it. You could feel these changes happening. You knew
Yes.
something was different.
%. Yeah. Great way. Yes. It just felt like finally things were starting to like work the way that they were supposed to, you know?
Yeah.
And I started with the fiber, and after the psoriasis went away, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this full protocol that she does. And it has yerba mate in it also. It's a highly concentrated, high quality yerba mate. That just helps, you know, that helps with inflammation.
Yeah. There's so many benefits. Donnie and I drink yerba mate.
Good. Yay. I know. I love it. Such an advocate for it. So I started there, and she talks about intermittent fasting, and I was like, okay, I'm trying to conceive. I don't want to do anything too extreme. So I just did like gentle fasting. Like all I did was like 12 hours at night. And then I just made sure that I wasn't, snacking in between my meals, you know, just really focusing on nutrient dense meals with fiber, protein, healthy fats, and not snacking in between so that I could, you know, bring my insulin down in between my meals. Because when I learned about insulin resistance, I was like, oh, okay, all these like, you know, symptoms, signs of it. I was like, yes. Okay. Yep. All these things. I didn't realize that I was insulin resistant. Like I honestly had no idea. And so anyway, I was like, okay, I'll just start gentle. Like I wasn't interested in doing extreme fasting or anything like that. And let me tell you though, that made such a difference. Just gentle breaks and just being more intentional with my food, you know, and eating schedule made such a difference. Like it was insane. And so, like I said, like my body started changing. My cycles were different. And then I literally got pregnant just months after that. And again, I was scared, like, you know, because I was getting pregnant, but I was just like, okay, you know, and again, I was holding my breath. And that's when I finally had a viable pregnancy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's why I'm like, fiber, everyone's like from the rooftops and yerba mate, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. So you took on a health coach and now you have are you health coaching or are you just sharing on your page or what all are
Yes.
you doing there?
Yes. So now I am also coaching. And kind of my niche is fertility, but, all around just metabolic health. And especially, if people are interested in intermittent fasting, I will coach them on that. If they're not, that's fine too, because, you don't have to do extreme anything like that. You can just trying to help them keep their insulin down, and also just helping with gut health and how those things are so connected. So yes, I am coaching now.
That's awesome. And clients can find you through your Instagram page.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, they can just message me.
Perfect.
And then I'll reach out to them, and we have this whole protocol and one-on-one coaching and all that I would step them through and help them with.
Amazing. And you mentioned there's a nutraceutical. Is that something that you could share, or is that private?
No,
Is
for
there
sure.
a brand or a product?
Yes, it's called the company is called Unicity. And so they have a fiber supplement that's called Balance, and then a yerba mate that's called Unimate. And so that's also available through my Instagram. You can see that, and you get like a discounted link to go through that. And then you get the discounted pricing for your life forever. It never goes away.
Awesome. We love that.
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, I can only imagine what it must have felt like as you had gone through this deep darkness and sadness and grieving, and then it's almost scary when you go through an experience like that. You're almost afraid to let yourself feel hope again, right? Because you know what the crash feels like of, well, I hoped last time, and then I was super disappointed and depressed, and that felt terrible. So if I just don't hope and I just keep my energy really low, then I don't have to go through that crash. It's like a survival instinct to us of like, don't put yourself through that roller coaster again. So I can only imagine that as you were on that trajectory of like coming back up, oh my gosh, this psoriasis is resolving. I'm starting to feel better. I can feel my hormones are more regulated. I'm feeling more myself. I want to feel hope. Oh my gosh, you realized at some point you were pregnant. And then I'm sure those first few months and probably the entire pregnancy, you were just like waiting, like, is the other shoe going to drop? Am I going to make it through this pregnancy?
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
Or can this end at any moment? Was this really the answer? Am I safe? Am I safe to hope? Or is this just going to end?
Yes. No, honestly, it is so, I wish fertility could be easier. It's like so unfair, honestly, because it's so hard in like so many ways, right? And yes, I had so much anxiety. Even though you let that hope in, but you're still, you're holding your breath, and you do have to put up some kind of a wall. Like, honestly, I didn't tell anyone I was pregnant till I was 20 weeks, halfway done, And I honestly didn't really acknowledge it myself. Yeah, because I was protecting myself. And so I didn't go in to see any medical person until 15 weeks. And, anyway, so you're just protecting yourself and holding your breath. And then it's interesting. I kept, I'd go past like the 11 weeks, and I'm like, okay, that was my first miscarriage. And then you go past the 14 weeks, and then you're like, okay, made it past that miscarriage. And then, you go past all these markers, and then you're like, maybe I'll feel better when I'm at 20 weeks, but at the anatomy scan too, I was so stressed. And you get further along. Anyway, your anxiety just kind of morphs, so it's like, and then you have these terrible thoughts at the end of your pregnancy that, something's going to go wrong. And then even when she was born, like, I was holding her, and yes, I felt better, but I still, I was like, is she breathing? Like, the anxiety is there. It's real. It's so hard. And you want to be connected to that baby right away, but but yeah, it's so hard when you've had so much loss and so much heartbreak that it's hard to take that risk again, you know?
Yeah.
But it's worth
Yeah,
it.
because we can in those situations get conditioned to feeling a certain amount of anxiety and the surveillance of I'm ready to sound the alarm, I'm ready to deal with whatever, super sad or hard thing comes around again. So I kind of have it's like this hyper vigilance of like always waiting for something to not be okay. And
Yeah.
that fight or flight, fawn, freeze
Mhm.
that's the area that turns into living and it becomes a mental force, a mental habit that almost can get programmed in.
Yeah. Right. And
Yeah.
actually, so I had to go to therapy because even though like I knew, okay, I want this baby, obviously, but like the thought, yeah, of 9 months of pregnancy and like, how can I do that? Like, it just felt so impossible, even though I so badly wanted it. So I had to go to therapy because I needed assistance to get through that. Yeah, to get through the trauma.
Bravo. Good on you. That is such a wise choice and a very guided decision. That's fantastic. Yeah. I love that. Thank you for being willing to share that because I see women when I have not had a pregnancy yet. Um, but I see what friends and family have gone through with some fertility issues and you can tell it is like all consuming sometimes when you have to fight so hard to have the family that you want.
Yeah, that's the perfect word, all consuming, because it really is. It's
Yeah.
like it takes over everything.
So as you've become a health coach, um, in that process of becoming, did it just feel very natural? Did you feel called to it? Did you feel God calling you to step into this role? Or was it just like, there's this supplement I feel really, really passionate about that's helped me? How did that happen?
Well, it's kind of a mix of all that, but when I was trying to conceive over that 3-year period, I was also longing for something, like I had my 2 daughters, I have 8-year-old and a 5-year-old. Um, and that's very fulfilling, but also, I had that piece of me that was ready to nurture something else too, nurture more. And so I wanted something and we had also moved and I was feeling very lonely in that way too. And so I had been praying, yeah, like asking for help to feel more connected to others and to feel more fulfilled. And so that's where I first started with the doula road, which I actually had wanted to be a doula back in 2020.
I
But then,
remember that.
yeah, but then the pandemic happened. And so I didn't want to do it virtually. So I was like, dang it. Okay, I'll just have to wait. And then I got pregnant with my second daughter. So that kind of went on the back burner. And so then I was like, well, maybe this is a good time to do that. I did really enjoy it, but it was also very um, heartbreaking because I was going through my infertility. And so even though I loved helping women, it was, sorry, really hard to see, these babies. Sorry, that I wasn't having myself. And so even though I loved that journey and I loved, that little experience that I had of being a doula, and I was able to help, a handful of women with that. It didn't feel quite right at that time, just because it was, really hitting close to home, obviously. Um, so I kind of set that aside again, and then when I was trying to get answers, and I did come across this supplement, I connected really well with my health coach. And she was telling me just about this community, and I was able to see kind of a peek into that and what that looked like. And I felt very drawn, like, okay, I think this is what I am missing right now. Like I needed that connection. I wanted inspiring people to be around me. I wanted to feel fulfilled. I wanted to help others. I wanted to nurture others. And so I decided to partner with her, and it was seriously everything, that I was looking for. And even actually my therapist was like, wow, this looks really good on you. Like, just having this special thing to be a part of. And I love these women with, the growth mindset and helping yourself, but especially helping other people. So that's where I was like, okay, I felt really drawn to it. And also actually like just doing things that are outside of my comfort zone and continuing to learn. Like I love to learn. And so continuing to learn and be something that I'm passionate about too, obviously, because
Yes.
how much I want to help women with their fertility, and any metabolic issue that you're having. Like it's incredible the results that I've seen from other people and friends. Like I have a good friend that is pregnant right now and she was struggling and so it is very fulfilling to be able to help people take back their health and to be educated themselves. And so I really do feel like I was led to this.
Absolutely. I can see it all over you. I can hear it. So speaking of that, as you are coaching and as you're helping others, one of our pillars of core health is action. What are some of the most key actions or the most positive actions that an individual can take within this realm we're talking about to benefit their health?
Obviously, I'm always going to talk about fiber, but upping your fiber, like women are supposed to have 28 to 30 grams of fiber a day. And men,
We ain't getting it.
Yeah, right. And men even more than that, right? Close to 40, I believe. And we just unfortunately are not, and not saying that it's anybody, it's not like you guys are all so weak. No, honestly,
Everyone's failing.
food, yeah. And unfortunately, our food system is failing us, right? Like they take the fiber out of food so that it tastes better and it looks better and you're addicted to it and you eat more. Anyway, but so definitely upping your fiber. And that, comes in whole foods and having a variety. So eating colorful, eating a lot of color and eating lots of different kinds of fiber. And then this is something that was new to me is the order that you eat your food makes a huge difference. So eating fiber at the beginning of your meal and then protein, healthy fats, and leaving the carbs to the end. And that is a simple thing where, especially because I'm actually not all about super extreme. Like I feel like that is not consistent or that's not easy to keep consistent, right? Like it's not sustainable. There we go. That's the word I'm searching for. And so I'm actually about like, okay, how can you do this realistically? And if you love your carbs, okay, but eat them at the end, because then you'll feel fuller, you'll eat less, and you won't have as much of a spike, right? So it's like, it makes just such a big difference, just that small change. And movement. So just moving, even if it's just for 10 minutes after eating, and it can actually even be before or after eating, will make such a difference. Strength training is also huge. Like growing up dancing, I never really lifting weights. I don't know. I was like, okay, that's a cool thing. I just never really did that a ton. And so I've been getting into that more, and strength training is so important. Your muscles are what will soak up the glucose, right? And so those are the spaces. You need that.
I call it, when I'm educating our patients, I call it the metabolic sink. So it's interesting as you've been, I may have taken that from someone. I don't know who called it a metabolic sink, but whoever it was, thank you. I'm educating my patients with it. It might have been Dr. Lyon, actually. But there, as you're talking, I'm like, this is so similar to, we treat weight loss patients or patients who are wanting to microdose GLP-1s. They want it for weight loss. They want it for longevity benefits, heart health, brain health, you name it.
Yeah.
And there are 6 things that I'm like, you must focus on these. And fiber first, similar. Protein means of prime importance. So you prioritize your protein. And then sleep, after dinner walk, because we want to mitigate that postprandial insulin spike. Like you said, strength and resistance training. You say, get off the treadmill. You don't have to get off it. Just don't stay on it. Get off the treadmill. Don't worry about cardio so much. Lift heavy things. What is heavy for you? Don't injure yourself, but lift, get strong. You're meant to be strong, and you're not going to get bulky. Like, you probably couldn't even if you wanted to. So good luck. I've tried. You can't.
Right.
And then sleep. And yes, muscle is your metabolic sink. It is what allows your body to use the stored glucose. In a nutshell, there's so much more complexity than that. I don't mean to oversimplify it, but it's interesting when there's true principles that translate across platforms, across different spheres of practices, and they still hold true. That's when you know this is a good core principle. These are grounding roots for success. And what you explained is exactly what we do with our patients. And so I know we are in alignment, and those are good things.
Yes. No, 100%. Yes, all those things right there. So it's interesting that they're simple, but they're also not everyone knows that, or even understands how important it is. These small things are,
Yeah. So what piece of advice do you find yourself giving to people, even if they're clients or if they're just your target audience, people you're trying to reach or people who ask you questions? Oh yeah, you do find like, what is so what about, you always get the same questions over and over from all directions. What is a piece of advice that you find yourself giving that you're like, I wish more people just understood this?
Yeah. Well, I think just the understanding how insulin affects everybody, and that it is, because this is something that was brand new to me too, is that our bodies are so smart that they work really hard to keep us healthy and safe, right? So if you're eating, let's say you eat something, and especially if it's, ultra processed food, then you're going to have a big spike of insulin, and, the insulin is going to be pumped out. And then if you eat that, you're going to be hungry again soon after. So you're going to eat again. So then even more insulin is, pumped out. And our bodies are so smart because they don't want that blood sugar to go too high, and they don't want it to go too low either. And so that insulin is just so remarkable in how it helps keep our bodies safe, right? So that we can have energy, that everything can function in our body as it needs. So what we don't understand, I feel like there's just not as much education about this, is that too much insulin for too long can really be detrimental, but it's kind of like this hidden thing, this silent thing happening because our bodies are so smart, right? So we get these blood tests done and it's like, oh, my blood sugar looks great, but I'm having these symptoms, but okay, whatever, like you're told that your labs are normal, but you're having all these symptoms. And so you just don't realize that, this insulin is working on overdrive, right? And then there are these other problems happening that you're not realizing why. And so I think just understanding insulin has been really eye-opening for me. And it makes me, because it helps me make better decisions, because then I'm like, oh, this is the why, right? Like I want to have health like long into my life, And so anyway, understanding that. So just understanding the power of insulin, and that you can control your insulin, like that it's not this death sentence, right? But instead it's you have these symptoms, they're signals. And so understanding how you can just implement some of these simple things like you talked about, and it really will affect your insulin, and so that, the tools of fiber with your blood sugar spikes and your gut health and, hormone signaling, and the yerba mate, which helps keep that insulin down too, right? And helps you take the breaks between meals so that you are letting your body take those breaks. Like, these tools, and sleep, like you said, movement, protein, building your muscles, like those things are really going to help control your insulin, which will just make a huge difference in your life. Like, and it's crazy. It's like, it sounds so simple, but insulin is so powerful. And so if we understand it, like I feel like it just really helps with decisions that we will make for our health.
Absolutely. You've been in the healthcare industry as a patient in a couple of different situations and as a health coach and as a doula. In your experiences, both inside of and outside of that, what gap do you think is the biggest gap in our healthcare right now? Like, given what you've gone through, what's a gap that you're like, man, if we could just fix this, close this, life would be so much better for all of us?
Yes. Oh, well, where do I begin? No, just kidding. Um, honestly, what was so surprising to me, like I mentioned, is that because I'm all about being, your own advocate and doing your research. Like, I think that is important, right? Like, I don't think that you should just blindly go to a doctor and hope that they will just 100% cure you. But I was very surprised that there was nothing talked about the root, like my gut health and even I didn't even know the words insulin resistance until I listened to that podcast.
A
And so
podcast.
a podcast, exactly. You know, why? So, it's just interesting to me that all these doctors, and, I'm not trying to bash doctors. I'm not, I respect them and, 100%. But I was just very surprised that none of them talked to me about any kind of like root cause, Why jump to medication instead of like, oh, why do you think your body is giving you this sign, you know? Especially with psoriasis, which I had never had before. So anyway, so that was what was really interesting to me, was that I had to totally figure that out by myself. And, and then just going, like you said, going from like one doctor to another. And I understand too that doctors, like, they don't want to take huge risks. I get that. Like, their license is on the line, but like, I don't know. It's just interesting to me that if I ever brought up something, where I'm like, well, what about this? Like, they never really wanted to even explore talking it through, you know what I mean? Because I had my own ideas, and so I was like, well, what about my psoriasis? Do you feel like that's affected my fertility? The fertility specialist was like, oh no, anyway. So it's just interesting to me that it's like, well, why can't we just like at least discuss these things, But I get it. Like, they want to just kind of stay in their lane and what they're familiar with and what they feel comfortable with. But
Yeah.
I needed someone that was willing to like explore, what was going on with me more, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I totally hear you. And even with what you said, I hear that every day. Almost every single patient will tell me that. I went to see my doctor and they said my labs were normal. And I'm like, find one place on the page where it says normal. It's just a reference range, and it's a reference range to the rest of the human condition, usually within a very narrow window of gender and age, and then just comparing you to that.
Right.
So that's really tell me anything about you. Now, there are reference ranges that are very highly studied and formed, and there's things that if we're within the reference range here, I'm not worried about it. But you can't just go based off of lab work either. And when your patient is sitting there telling you, this is how I'm feeling, you can't say, well, everything's normal. Because it's not. They're telling you that it's not. I already know that it's not normal because they're saying it's not normal. So that's my key indicator. And I check labs, and we have to check labs. And that's important. And it does give us good information, but it is not the whole picture. And it is a snapshot as well.
Exactly.
That's an incredible experience and journey that you have had. If you could leave our audience with one piece of parting wisdom, one golden nugget that you care about so much, what would that be?
Hopefully this doesn't sound too woo-woo or something, but honestly, I really do believe in whatever higher power that you believe in. I really do believe that, like, whether that's God or just the universe talking to you, that you will be guided even in your health journey, and not saying like I am all about the science and all that kind of stuff, but also just I feel like trusting your gut, like I think I should try this route or whatever, and especially where I feel like fertility is so individual, well, I mean, my health is individual, but like, especially where, you are going to know your body best. You're going to know your cycles. You're going to know how you feel. You're going to know what you've tried. And, and so I just think really trusting yourself, is huge. Being also your own advocate. Unfortunately, but fortunately, you do need to do that. You need to do the research and find what is evidence-based and what will actually help you. But like trusting also like the earth, like it's incredible that carbs from the earth come wrapped in fiber, like, and protein and healthy fats come together, like, so it's just like trusting that the earth also like will give you what you need. And, I know that sounds kind of hippie, but there's so much like positivity also, just like believing like, okay, I can take back my health. I can, whatever your goal is, I can have a baby. I can improve my fertility. Like there's so much power in that too. Just believing. Sorry, like
Faith.
Yeah.
Really, though. Faith. And yeah, having faith in a master plan and a master planner who, like you said, when God made a poison, he wrapped it in fiber so it wouldn't hurt us, right? Eating an apple that is full of fiber is so much better than the human processed apple juice that brings out the poison, the fructose,
Yes.
and makes it so potent that it creates a unmanageable insulin spike. Yeah, when there is a master plan and a master planner, and this is here for me, and the answers are here for me, and health is here for me.
Yes.
There's real hope and power in that.
So much power. Yeah. It's almost like manifesting it, and like you said, that plan, the creator, it will come to you.
Yeah. Katie, you are a beautiful soul. You always have been. I know this about you. You always will be. It has been a privilege to get to hear your story, your craft, your coaching today. And I have no doubt that you are blessing innumerable lives and will continue to do so. And I am happy to get to share your story today and give an avenue for that. Thank you for tuning in and joining me.
Thank you, Sarah. Oh my goodness.
This podcast is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only and is not medical advice. Always consult your healthcare provider regarding your individual health needs. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.